Hi, thanks for joining me. Welcome back to the channel. So what I'm talking about this week, or in this video, is Bob Dylan Fragments, the Bootleg Series, Volume 17, which is basically a revisitation of the whole of the Time Out of Mind sessions. Yeah, so Time Out of Mind was Bob Dylan's new album from 1997, and followed a couple of kind of cover version albums, and so it was really seen as a kind of Bob's return to songwriting, and certainly was a really great album. Not one I have on vinyl, it has to be said, because that was right in the sort of the peak of the CD era, if you like. So I got it on CD, but I didn't get it on vinyl. And subsequently, to pick it up on vinyl, it's pretty expensive. I think you pay at least £100 for an original pressing, and they're just very hard to come by. And initially, it was produced by Daniel Lanois, who I think possibly most famously produced U2, the Joshua Tree, I think possibly the Unforgettable Fire as well, but a very kind of spacious, ambient kind of sound, and it's been revisited here, and I'll go into more detail of what you get. Now, this is available it's available on CD and on vinyl. But on vinyl, you can buy this as direct from Bob Dylan's website, bobdylan.com, as a 10 LP set. 10 LPs explains why it's been so long for me to listen to it all. Or as a 4 LP set. And I'll go through a little in a while the differences there, and hopefully that will be some pointer to you as to what you might want to buy if you haven't already got this, obviously. So yeah, anyway, this is the 10 LP version. Let me just show you what you get. So if I turn it up this way, I do believe it's a limited run of 5,000 units. I think they might still be for sale, and they were a couple of weeks ago. I haven't actually remembered to check this morning, but as you see, it's kind of packaged. You've got 5 double albums and a very nice book, very nice book, which full of good essays about the tracks, about the recordings. And one thing about Bob Dylan, which you may or may not know, is he recorded on tape. Very nice booklet. But if I go through the albums and what you get, so the first LP here. Now this is basically Time Out of Mind, 2022 remix. Now, as I may have mentioned already, the original Time Out of Mind, brilliant songs. I wouldn't say but, produced by Daniel Lanois, brilliant songs and produced by Daniel Lanois, and it's got a very kind of airy sound, kind of atmospheric. It's as I say, think of U2 and other bands around that time that he produced. And if you've heard, go and listen to Time Out of Mind on CD if you're not familiar with it, because it's definitely a Dylan album worth having, without a shadow of doubt. I'd say probably from the mid 70s onwards, probably his strongest album. I mean, in fact, from the mid 70s to date, probably his strongest album. But it has a sound. So this is Time Out of Mind, and it's been remixed by a Michael Brower, and I think produced by Bob himself. He tends to do that from everything. I think actually everything past Time Out of Mind, actually. I think everything after that, Bob's produced himself as Jack Frost. So what we've got here, disc 1. This is a full remix of the complete album of Time Out of Mind. And I have to say, I honestly think it would be worth them just releasing this as is. I really, really do. But I'll get onto that later. So I will come back to that. But I just want to show what you get. I'll just put these here. So we've got disc LP 2. So that's discs 3 and discs 4 is outtakes and alternative tapes. And this is basically from sessions when they're working things out and just practicing and having fun, I suspect. That's LP set 2, double LP 2. Double LP 3 is exactly the same, well, more of the same. And more pictures of tapes, all very cool. And again, I think these are all from the same group of sessions. 1997 Criteria Studios sessions, you've got a separate take here of Highlands, which is a full side long on the original album and fantastic. Anyway, so you've got sort of 4 discs. Now, if you were to buy the mini set, if you like, what you get is the LP remixed, and then you get 2 LPs, not 4, of outtakes and alternates. Now, I will. I'll tell you, cut to the chase. Okay. First thing is this. I prefer it to the original. I prefer it to the original by quite some margin. It's got an intensity and an intimacy to it, but it's also got a real dirty, bluesy, gritty groove. I mean, it really is. It's got that kind of country, ambient, airy feel, like a bit like the sort of the U2, even though Daniel Lanois is removed from the producing of these, if you like, he still plays guitar. So on the albums, I mean, it's really, really, really beautiful. It's more. Bob's vocal is definitely more there. It's more intense. It's more gritty. It just grabs you more, I think. So you take an already good album and you just make it better, and that's why I genuinely think that they should have released this just as it is, just Time Out of Mind remix. They may well do, I guess, at some point, but it's really, really, really bloody good, really good. Then you've got these 2, so there's 4 sides here, and we've got basically all the tracks plus a few others. I mean, Mississippi didn't make it to the album. You've got a couple of versions of that here. Just sort of, they're almost sort of like demo versions, jamming kind of rough mix type of versions. But the thing about Dylan and this is when you're listening to all these outtakes, alternate takes, and that's something about the Bootleg series that I found. I mean, some of the Bootleg series are just live things, like I think the Faith No More, I think it's called, the Christian period one. There's obviously the Rolling Thunder Review, which is just a live, I say just a live one. The Albert Hall concerts and things like this. So some of them are sort of very much outtakes, alternate takes, unreleased material, and some are live versions. Now, the outtakes and alternate versions ones, I think for most artists, you might think, do I really want to be listening to that? In the case of Bob Dylan, I just think every single version is like, it's like you're hearing him live, because it is live in the studio kind of stuff. and he'll do different versions of songs, and there'll be completely different feel. Just revisiting the song over and over in a different way. It's like he's written the lyrics, he's written down a kind of a chord progression, he gives it to the band, and hey, let's jam this one in this way, let's jam this one in this way, and it's so on. You can just listen to LP after LP after LP of these things and be fascinated, not get bored. And it's not even listen once and you're probably never going to want to go back. It's these are keepers. So anyone who's getting bored with the review, I can tell you now, definitely, if you like Bob Dylan, make sure you get this. But I would advise probably the 4 LP set or on CD, both of which are easily available for around about £100 or less. Then if you're really into Dylan, then that's where you might look at the this 10 LP set or the 5 CD version. Now we'll go on to the rest of what you get on the 10 LP version. It is a bit cheeky because we've got 2 more double albums here. Now I will briefly mention this one because it says on the cover there, previously released. Now it's very much appropriate to this album and this set, so you can see why they have re-released it because it fits. And basically there's 4 sides, and they're all live, or there's 2 live versions, and then 3.5 sides of alternate takes, basically, of tracks that, as I say, we got 3 versions of Mississippi, and that didn't even make it to the album. So 3 versions there, a couple more on the earlier ones. We've got 5 versions of a track which never made it to the album. It's really good stuff. But I've already got it all. I've already got it all because it's on Telltale Signs, a previous bootleg series. So, yeah, it kind of fits here. But again, if you're thinking of the 5 LP set versus the 10 LP set versus the 4 LP set, bear that in mind, okay? You might already have 2 LPs worth of the material. And then it's not last, this is actually LP number 4, so sides or LPs, double LP, it's very confusing, double LP 4, so actually LPs 7 and 8. And this is all live, and it's kind of good. It's good to hear it, it's good to be there, but a lot of it sounds like it's kind of in the crowd recordings. You've sort of, it's not great. It's definitely not what I would call hi-fi quality. And, I think as such, again, I could live without it. Some great photos. And it's, you'll enjoy it. If you're a Bob fan, you'll definitely enjoy it. But I don't think it's something I'll be playing that again. So really, out of this, I kind of think in a way the weakest album is the live one. So that's double LP number 4. Double LP number 5, literally, I've already got, although it's great stuff. The actual album is just stunning. It really is a return to Dylan at his best, I think. And I said about the best sort of thing since the mid-70s. Depends where your kind of love of Dylan lies. Now, for me, I think his acoustic stuff, solo acoustic folk stuff, the first 4 albums up to 65 are just, that's one thing that is just peerless. And then you've got the sort of 65 to 70-ish, where you've got Highway 61 revisited, Bringing It All Back Home, Blonde on Blonde, Nashville Skyline, and these albums, they're just I'd say equally good, in my opinion, equally good. and a real kind of just, it's almost that is for me the essence of Dylan. I think is absolute kind of pinnacle, if you like. And then you've got the sort of the early 70s. I think there's for me it gets a little bit weaker. There's still, I've still got most of the albums, but it gets a little bit weaker, and then sort of towards maybe more the mid 70s, again it reaches a real peak again, with things like Blood on the Tracks, and then you get to Infidels, for instance, which is kind of the reggae one, if you like. And I think at that point he's starting to sort of experiment and like try a bit of this, try a bit of that. And I think that sort of went through the 80s, where each album is really great, but it's kind of absolute raw essence of Dylan was maybe slightly diluted. This, I think, really, really, really is. It's a return to that sort of 65 to 75 kind of, absolute peak of brilliance, phenomenal songwriting, witty, dark, poignant, together with just a fantastically funky, dirty, bluesy, goddamn fabulous groove. Absolutely fantastic. So, overall, how would I rate this? Extremely, extremely, extremely high. Would I recommend it? If you're really obsessed, yes. If you're not really obsessed, honestly, I would just get the 4 LP vinyl set. If you're not that bothered about Dylan, I would still try and give it a listen, because I think it's Dylan's songwriting. It equals his kind of, it's right up there in the sort of the, 80 to 90%, 80, 90 to 100% of the best songwriting era type Dylan, with a real goddamn dirty groove kind of slip slidey kind of feel to it, musically. So it's, it really is up there. I think having to have 10 records and take up 3 inches of shelf space is maybe a little bit excessive, which is why I think if I was, if I was really recommending it to someone, I'd say go out and get the 4 LP set. Any other comments? Yes. Sadly, there is, because I have to say, the sound is great. It's been, as I say, it's sort of, I'm pretty 99% certain that it's all analog recordings. I think that's pretty much par for the course with Dylan. As I say, this version is mixed by Michael Brower. I believe it's mastered at Sterling Sound by Ryan Smith, I think. I can't swear to that, but I'm pretty sure it is. And as in this particular format, limited to 5,000 units. And it's pressed at GZ Media in Czechoslovakia. Now, that's where I have an issue. I have got records pressed at GZ that sound and are fine. But when I did the unboxing video, can't remember if I've already put a link, but if I haven't, I'll put one up here. I had a comment from someone who said, do get and check it quite quickly, because mine was all warped and scuffed and in a very poor shape, and they had to send it back. And I thought, oh blimey, that's going to take some wading through. And I put it on the back burner, and never got round to it for ages. And then I did maybe a month or so ago. I took the first albums out and I played them, and they sounded great, but they were visibly warped. And I thought, oh no, am I going to have to send this back? They did still have copies at the time, and I went through the whole lot. and every single disc was warped. I mean, some weren't badly warped, but some were warped much more than I would like. Now, I do have a disc flattening machine, which works really, really well. So, you know, having weighed it up and thinking, well, if all 10 LPs are warped, one of my viewers had commented that all of his were warped. You just think, you know, if I'm going to send it back, it's a heck of a lot of palaver, and almost guaranteed the next 10 discs will be warped. You know, it's just, I've had that before with records, you know, where basically the whole batch is you know, poor, if you like. So I set about flattening them, and that was a fairly time-consuming business. So I flattened them all, I've cleaned them all very carefully, and you know, they're all now absolutely flat as a pancake and sound absolutely pristine. They do come in these very fancy cardboard inners, but they don't have any kind of poly lining. So again, there was sort of purely surface scuffs, and I had to go out and buy some Nagioka inner sleeves, which sadly I don't think they're making anymore. But just because these are quite tight, I couldn't fit my preferred inner sleeves inside these, and because these LP sleeves, the double ones, are quite tight, I couldn't fit this inner and a replacement LP sleeve easily, not without sort of stretching and stressing and everything else. So it was, you know, a fair nightmare to actually get these into a condition where they're flat, clean, protected and playable. You know, ideally playable, that is. So I think that's worth noting, that if you buy them, I'd be very interested to know in the comments whether yours are all flat. Best way is put them on a turntable without a felt mat and just look at the edge and see if there's any ripple. And you know, I am really pedantic about that, because you know, if your LP isn't touching your turntable surface, the platter surface, then the energy transfer, if you like, that you're paying all the money for in your big turntable isn't going on, and the whole thing all becomes a bit of a mockery. So yeah, bit of a whine and a whinge at GZ Media for that. I'm not happy with the the condition of how they arrived, basically just in plain card sleeves with no poly lining. So they're fine, you know, they're not audible, but they're visible, kind of just scuffing across the surface. And the fact that every single one of all 10 discs to some degree was warped. Excuse me. Okay. Rant aside, just very briefly summing up, it is a fantastic album, particularly just the remix, the 2022 remix. I mean, Lovesick is just fantastic, atmospheric, bit Dire Straitsy kind of fantastic thing. Dirt Road Blues is just it's that, you know, late 60s, early 70s Dylan at his best. Guitars and organs just grooving, Million Miles, beautiful slow groove thing. Till I Fell in Love with You, just, you know, more sort of highway blonde on blonde era kind of feel Dylan. And then, you know, Highlands, just, you know, I think the 16 minutes long. I think that might be the longest Dylan song ever, but just, you know, one of those sort of talking bluesy, sort of just tells you a story, really, and beautiful kind of steely guitar-y kind of organ, country, low down, slip slidey kind of groove going on. Excuse me. Absolutely fantastic. So I have actually got all of the Bootleg series so far. I haven't got them all. There's one other which I bought the compressed rather than the extremely full version. Amongst the bootleg series, I honestly think this is one of the peach. If I was going to pick my top 5 bootleg series, heck, this would be in it. I can't think of the numbers. The first one, which was actually volumes 1, 2, and 3, ironically, would be in it, because that's just packed full of songs that you just won't have heard if you've only got the studio albums. That are just fantastic, you know, from that early period. Rolling Thunder Review, that's the Desire. I forgot to mention Desire. I mean, again, with Blood on the Tracks. I mean, the mid-70s, absolute peak of Dylan. Absolute fantastic. And I forgot what it's called, the one with Johnny Cash. I forgot what it's called, where they have the full kind of Nashville Skyline session. It's just amazing too, absolutely amazing. And I think in its 4 LP version, I would say this is absolutely essential Dylan. And if you've got a big taste for Dylan and you like all those outtakes, then this is worth getting. But really, it's worth getting just for the addition. You know, you get twice as many outtakes and alternate versions, and that's assuming you haven't got Telltale Signs. You have got Telltale Signs. If you haven't got Telltale Signs, this is even more compelling, because then there's 3 double albums of out and alternate takes. The live stuff for me, I could take it or leave it, frankly. But yeah, there we go. Hope that wasn't too rambling and confusing for you. And it's been a long time coming, and it's been a bit of an arduous wade through it to get through it, with flattening 10 LPs and all the rest of it. But we're there now. It's all perfectly flat. It sounds absolutely fantastic, with that caveat about the live LPs. And a very, very welcome addition to the collection. Thanks very much indeed. Bye for now. Bye.